Welcome to Nutty Buddy Entertainment. The Bad.
Okay,
I
let's
think I put it.
Let's roast it.
Okay, hold
Let's
on
rock
to
and roll now.
buckle up your seatbelts, everybody. We're gonna
Comes
get
the
into
good part.
Yeah, let's get into the bad. Okay, so let's start with the bad here. Maybe we'll start with Chris. Oh, and let's just like do it one at a time. I'm sure we want to just go all flamethrower here on every single one, but maybe one at a time. Chris, what's one bad of the show? And remember, we still have an ugly too. So
I guess maybe this doesn't go into ugly quite so much. If I may digress for a minute, just the general like plotting and like motivate. I mean, we've talked about this like with some of the other shows we've talked about, like Hawkeye. Some of the plotting was a little confused. I can only really say this. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but I can only really like talk it out and explain like why it's confusing. So Boba Fett blasts his way out of the Sarlacc, becomes captured by the Tusken Raiders, is sort of like a slave, wins their respect, becomes part of the tribe. They get killed, like his family gets killed by what he thinks is the swoop bike gang, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes and gets the Slave One, Firestorm, whatever it's called now, kills the biker gang, which actually I would say is like kind of that was like the only time in the whole series where he's acting really in like a Boba-ish way, is that he just goes and like blasts them all. So as far as he's concerned, that like story is done, right? Because he took revenge on what he thought killed the Tusken Raiders. But then in the last episode, the Pikes go, "Oh, we're the ones that killed the Tusken Raiders, but we made him think that, it was the swoop bike gangs." So like, why does he hate the Pikes so much? I guess they're like fighting for turf. But like he seems like having it really out for them. But like they set up this whole thing where it's like he's taking revenge for the Tusken Raiders, but then they don't even factor in at all in the second half of the season. Like I think we kind of theorized like he's gonna try to like make peace like between the Raiders and like townspeople, or like something along the lines of that. And it just kind of like completely dropped. Does that kind of like make sense, like why it's confusing, at least for me, or am I just like ranting with no purpose?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was going to say, I understand that. I think it was more focusing on him being kind of the boss of that town and them moving in on his territory more than like what his affiliation to them before was.
Yeah. But then so why even have that in the last episode where they're like, we tricked him into thinking,
I think that was a point just to get him off of his, Cad Bane more used it to get him kind of off balance, to bring that up because, I don't know.
Yeah, to get him more emotional or whatever. That could be part of it. I would say that like, obviously with Boba being part of the bounty hunters and being part of the crime domain or whatever you want to call it throughout the Star Wars universe since Clone Wars and Rebels, he would have had dealings with the Pikes before.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably ran into them before and didn't like them for a variety of reasons, understanding that they wanted to take over what he like I think Brian's right, his territory. I feel like I didn't understand why they brought that in, like even the emotional thing, because he didn't get any revenge on anyone, right? For like on the Pikes, if Fennec Shand
I
was
guess
the one.
Fennec Shand at the end sort of like killed them,
right? But that had nothing to do with Boba. You could have
Yeah.
had that line out of the story, and it changes nothing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I get where you're coming from.
Okay, that's one. I'll stop for now, but that's number one for me. Is I just didn't understand like what the like motivations are as far as that goes.
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Travis? You have a bad? Maybe no. Are they all uglies?
No, I have two bads and then the rest are all uglies. But the
Okay.
first one, they spent way too much time on the Tusken Raiders story. I think it was 4 episodes drawn out total. When it very easily, you could have squeezed all that into one. That would have been pushing it, but at least like one in like the first 10 minutes of the second episode, and that could have been over with. Because there was a lot of stuff that I just did not care for that much about that. But yeah, I just thought it was too drawn out with them being around him being around the Tusken Raiders, and yeah, that was my main thing.
Yeah, I agree. I even think like the first 2 episodes was just too much Tuscan. Like I like the concept. The execution just fell so flat for me. I'll hold off until we get to the change part, but I really had an idea that I would have done a big change on those first 2 episodes. Chris, go ahead.
No, I agree. I think the way they did it, I think the first 2 episodes, they split it in like half, where it was like, here's the current storyline, and then flash back to what's going on with the Tusken Raiders. And if they did all episode 1, 45 minutes or whatever, and you wrapped up the whole Tusken Raiders thing in 1 episode, like that would have been fine.
Right.
But splitting it up into multiple episodes, it was like, we're trying to understand what's going on with the whole crime thing, but there was so little time devoted to that because they were devoting so much time to understanding this whole Tusken Raider dealio that it was like both of them are unsatisfying to me.
Yeah, I feel like it was the same trap that Eternals fell into, right? Where they should have probably just stuck in the past, got that over with, and then move on, so it doesn't so we don't have to try to keep up so much. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I think episode 5 did a good job of mixing in like when he found Fennec Shan and going from there, getting, the slave one or whatever it's called now, and moving it into the present. But yeah, part of my ugly was just the entire story arc with Boba could have been done in 2 to 3 episodes. It could have been condensed into it, and like to drag it out for the whole 7 episodes was just too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. There wasn't a lot of story there. Yeah, it was such a bummer, guys. I was really excited for this because so my first bad, let me get into my first bad then. This is not recasting Boba Fett. That's my first bad. So do you guys know how old Boba Fett would be in Star Wars time?
He would be in his 60s, right?
40s actually when that
40s?
happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the actor is clearly in his 60s, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so you're right about
yeah, the actor's in his 60s, which yeah.
So like I get like why they wanted to recast the actor who played the original Django, because they're technically the same person. But I felt like, and my friend Kevin was the one who told me that. That's how I know it. But the fighting, he couldn't hardly fight out there. He wasn't like great at acting. I felt like he didn't really want to be there anyway. He like even had a clip where he's like, I'm talking way too much in this. Like the actor, he's like, the Boba Fett does not talk, and all I do is talk, basically. So I feel like a bad is they should have just recast Boba Fett and had a younger guy come in who was 40. That's would have been Boba Fett's age. And you could have done things like you did with the Mandalorian, the cool fights and stuff. But I think that was a missed opportunity. Travis?
Yep, I couldn't agree more, Ryan. He looked so old and slow when he was fighting, especially when he had his helmet off. And some of his facial expressions when he was fighting with his little Tusken Raider tool, it looked bad in my opinion. I was like, what is going on right now? Boba Fett's supposed to be really cool. Like we all are expecting him to be like just as cool as what the Mandalorian did in the episode 6 or 5 or whatever it was. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Ryan.
Yeah. Let's see. Brian, you got another bad?
The Tusken Raiders was in my bad. Just the story arc that they took with them. I think what they should have done was, if they wanted to get rid of some of the Raiders, but, have them not fully dead. And, instead of having the, was it Freetown come in to like save them and going back to that, like going to having like finding the Tusken Raiders and then coming in, incorporating that more, I think that would have done a lot better job of like developing at least that storyline with them. Because even how they took down the train and everything, like I find it hard to believe the Pikes just like took them out and everybody was dead. Like even when I saw like that little kid's staff when he was throwing it on the fire, I'm just like, really? I'm like, okay. But yeah, I think they just did them dirty, that whole storyline with it.
Yeah, no, I agree, because it felt like a waste. The first 2 episodes felt like a waste because of that, because everybody was like, everybody who loved the first 2 episodes was like, oh, it's going to lead up to something. Like he's going to go for the Tuskens for help for the last fight. That's what everybody thought. And then they kill off the Tuskens. So you're absolutely right. They build them up just to like not even use them, which was part of the problem.
And how much cooler would it be to like incorporate the Tuskens into like his actual like, going through the city and like building that up and having them run things with him. It would have been, lost opportunities there. But
what if this was Boba Fett, King of the Tuskens, instead of Boba Fett, boring crime lord? Like automatically more interesting.
Yeah, more interesting by far. Yeah, I agree. Travis, you got another bad? You said you had
I was just gonna imitate Boba Fett and be like, we need a bigger army.
Did you have another bad though, Travis?
The rest of mine are all uglies.
Okay. Chris, you have another bad?
Yeah, Boba Fett, crime lord. This is all, these are all interchangeable between bad and ugly, so I'm just gonna knock out what comes to mind. But Boba Fett becoming a head of a crime family with like 5 people working for him, and then also he doesn't want drugs in his territory, so like how is he going to make any money? There's no reason like why he wants to like be the head of Jabba's crime family, except he just is. That's why it comes down to like the motivation thing, because it's like, why is he doing all this? Why
For
doesn't
respect.
he? I guess maybe he doesn't. Yeah, but then why are we out in the desert like with the Tusken Raiders for 3 episodes? And then, so at the end, it goes from at the start of the series, he wants to like run the town as a crime lord, but then by the end of the series, he is saying like, we can't let the town get destroyed. These are my people. The Pikes are like, get out of town. He's like, no, I can't leave them. I can't leave my people. So now he's just like running this city, and he's like a benevolent mayor type, like, or lord of the town or whatever. There's no reason he's not shown ever like liking humans. We see him falling in and having the Tusken Raiders be his family, and now he's like, I gotta protect these random people that I've never been shown to care about until this exact episode. At the end, little kids are going up to him like, Mr. Bobo, we love you. And he's like, we're not the right type of people for this. And it's like, well, you're the one that asked to be the lord of the town. So why are you whining about it?
That's fair, Brian.
I feel like it could have just been resolved with just like one flashback scene with, him working for Jabba and like doing something that he doesn't want to do, to give a little bit more backstory on like why I want to change things for them. But yeah, we got zero.
If Jabba was like, go to this bookie and like, break his legs, and then he's like, please don't break my legs. I gotta go harvest. My family's not gonna be able to eat if I'm crippled. And he's like, well, I guess I gotta do it because I work for Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, or he had to cut off.
That's like the most basic thing you could possibly think of, and that provides at least like a, boy, I'm really conflicted about what I'm doing. Just not like, well, I guess I'm a good guy now.
Yeah, or the like team leader for the mods group. Like if he had to cut off her arm and that's why she had to get a modification, like comes back or something, that would have been interesting,
That's a great idea.
Wow, we're fixing the series right before my eyes.
Yeah.
Travis, you had something to say?
Well, what Chris said was when Boba Fett comes into the town, and he's trying to take the town over again with his 5 people. It's like, how does he think he's going to do that when everybody has thought he's been dead this entire time and he shows up to town? It's like you send these 2 assassins at him and that's basically going to solve the problem. But that didn't work. But it's like, where was Boba's mindset at? If he wants to be this lord of the town, he needs to have more of an army or at least some sort of muscle before he even wants to do that.
Well, not only that, one of the other bads that I had that is that he like Boba gets constantly undermined by his own team. Like he's not really even the leader. Like, did you feel like he was the leader? Like every time he had a plan, hey, let's go back to the palace. No, we need to stay in town, sir. It's like, yeah, let's stay in middle of town then, because that's the thing. And then Fennec Shan corrected him too in the last episode of something that he should have done, that he wanted to do. And the entire time I'm like, isn't Boba supposed to be like, you know, a strategist? He like understands how to fight. He gets the advantage. He's supposed to be good at planning out things. He's supposed to be this ruthless bounty hunter. And at no time in the series did I feel that way. Like that he's good at anything except laying in the back to tank. Like he perfected that pretty well. But the other stuff, I just wasn't a great fighter. He wasn't good at leading his people because his people kept undermining him and giving him better suggestions. So to me, I just felt like Boba Fett just wasn't cool in this series. I don't know how else to say it. He just wasn't cool. He wasn't what we thought we were going to get with him. And if this wasn't a series called The Book of Boba Fett, I don't think we'd be as upset. Like if it was entitled Tales of Star Wars, like you mentioned earlier, Chris, I think we would have been okay with it. But you're supposed to make Boba Fett cool. That's what you're supposed to do in this series, and you did not. You failed. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, especially with how little we got to see of it with the movies. This was their time to like correct that and give us a little bit more in depth. And just he was just so meh, you know.
Yeah. You could have done 6 episodes of him going to 6 different planets and getting 6 different bounties and have 6 different types of stories. You know, here's one where he has a moral dilemma. Here's one where he's outmatched. Fill in the blanks, but it would have been like interesting. They picked like the most boring, like he's going to stand around for 6 episodes. He basically just stands in one spot talking to Fennec Shan over his shoulder. What should we do? Well, I don't know. How about we do this? Like sleepily reciting lines in a mono. Both, I mean, I guess you like Fennec Shan, that's fine. I thought she was kind of just flat and boring too, just like flatly talking to each other about what their strategy was, and then barely delivering on it.
She was just cooler than Boba Fett. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's not hard. It wasn't hard. I thought some of her fight scenes were cool. Like when she scaled the building to chase down the assassins and stuff like that. I thought that was just cool. It's just like, I don't expect Fennec Shan to be a graceful speaker or somebody with great plans. That's supposed to be Boba, and Boba falls short of that the entire series. So that's how I feel. Let's go into the ugly. You said, Chris, that most of yours kind of like teeters on bad and ugly. So you guys ready to go in the ugly?
Yeah.
I had a couple more bads.
Okay, go ahead.
We can move on. Okay.
Give us one more and then just turn all the other bads into uglies, and then we'll just dissect this thing up. So go ahead, Brian.
Sounds good. I think one of the bads for me was not having more of the twins in it. I almost think they should have flipped the storyline of making them more instead of the Pikes. And, you know, if they would have kept the Tuskens, like having an alliance with the Pikes and having them kind of help Boba get rid of the twins, I think I would have liked that more. Just even more, that could have gone more into the backstory with Jabba and why he wants to change things even more. So, yeah, I wish we would have got to see them a little bit more in this.
I agree. That sounds far more interesting than what we got. Travis?
Yeah, that would have been great, because when they left, they made it sound like something was going to happen when it was just the Pikes that they're referring to. But it would have been cool if they like lied and then they, you know, turned against him in the end, kind of like all the rival gangs in the city did at the end too. So that would have been way better if they would have done that too, but they didn't. Shocker.
Shocker. Okay, let's get into some ugly, guys. Okay, let's start with. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed us discussing Boba Fett. If you'd like to hear the rest of what we had to say as far as the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly, also our ratings for Boba Fett, and changes that we would have made, and what we're expecting from the Obi-Wan series. If you'd like to listen to any of that, click on one of the links below to listen to the rest of the podcast. Once again, thanks so much for listening. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and we'll talk to you guys soon.